Hey everybody, it's your newest edition of Commander's Wrap, where you get all your relevant Commanders news and a little opinion too in 15 minutes. I'm your host, Dr. Wonderful, Doctor of Writing, Professor of English, and avid Commanders fan, joined by my co-host and analyst, Kevin Bayne. How are you doing this week, Kevin?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
It's okay. I'm doing okay. I can't complain. I hear it's still cold up there in DC
Yes,
and
it
surrounding areas.
yes, it is. It is cold and wind's been blowing, and yeah, for sure.
Yeah, yeah, we're a nice balmy 71 here in Mississippi. So
Uh,
that's that's the best part. Yeah, Kevin's not happy about that, y'all. I can tell you that right now.
yeah, no,
Uh, yeah, we're gonna get started with our first segment, and it's gonna be on a bit of a somber note. As reports came out on Friday that Sonny Jergensen, legendary Redskins quarterback and, of course, Hall of Famer, passed away at the grand old age of 91. I can I can tell you for me, Kevin, I watched Sonny as he covered the then Redskins with Frank Herzog and Huff and all of those and very big tears. It impacted me a great deal because Sonny really loved this team. He's the last of from the like Lombardi era. If you
mhm.
recognize how far back he went, Vince Lombardi said Sonny Jergensen was the best quarterback he ever saw, and he may have been the best quarterback the NFL had ever produced. In 14 games, this man led the league 5 years in passing,
Mm,
uh, five separate times in passing, 3,700 some odd yards in 14 games. Now,
yeah,
when the league rarely at that time saw 4,000-yard passers, you watch the film today and you know you're watching a Hall of Fame quarterback.
right, right.
That's you can still watch film of Sonny today, just like you can watch film of Johnny Unitas, Arch Manning, all these guys, and you immediately know that's a Hall of Fame quarterback. Like
Mm.
some of those throws were, unbelievable and unimaginable. So Sonny's going to be missed, at least for me. What about you here, Kevin?
Yeah, I mean this one hurts, right? Sonny is, he's one of those names is bigger than what people I think kind of realize, especially this younger generation. He he was with Washington for a very long time. I think people forget how far ahead of his time he really was. Like you just mentioned, the first guy to throw for 4,000 yards, led the league in passing 5 times. That's incredible. Like I said, and what you just mentioned, he just did it in 14 games. Um, he's one of those guys. He's just part of the Washington family, so to speak. When you go back and you watch the tape, the arm talent jumps out immediately. What he has, I don't think there was a throw that he couldn't make. He definitely wasn't afraid to push that ball downfield. He played with a toughness that it just doesn't get talked about enough anymore. I think if he played in today's NFL with modern offenses and today's rules, he'd be a serious problem. Uh, and what I always respected about him is that he never left after his playing days. He stayed connected to the team, to the fans, to the city. He was a constant voice around this franchise, with even through all the ups and downs. He always stuck around. So yeah, at 91, he's old. I get it, but it's still a major loss. The Redskins don't have their history without Sonny. Um, and like this, it's one of the days like this to remind you how important it is to honor the people who built this thing. So definitely thoughts and prayers out to his family and friends.
Yeah, absolutely. And just a couple of last few tidbits about Sonny. He still leads the Commanders slash Redskins, right, in touchdowns for season
Mm-hmm.
31. Right. He still holds the record for touchdowns in a season at 31. He was at just, he's going to absolutely be missed. And you're absolutely right. It wasn't a throw that he could not make.
Yep.
right? Wasn't
Yep.
a throw that he couldn't make. But his love for the team, and you got to remember, this is during the time where we also had Billy Kilmer,
Yep.
right? And we have to remember Billy Kilmer was a great backup, and many times it was like, is it going to be Billy? Is it going to be Sonny? Is it going to be Billy? Is it going to be Sonny?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, class act, the golden era, class act. Sonny, you will be missed. Our next segment is going to cover another sadness. I don't know what is going on. We're going to cover the stunning news coming out last week, also, that the Washington Post has ended its sports department. Kevin, for me, this is a death that's just as impactful as Sonny's. I grew up reading people like Kornheiser and Wilbon, and I'm someone, we talked about this before we started recording, like local sports matter, award-winning sports writers matter, and
Mhm.
that's what the Washington Post had, and that's now gone in many ways, and it's an institution, and this is not to me a great week for Washington sports, Kevin. What do you think on the end of an era for the Washington Post in their sports coverage?
Yeah, I absolutely hated hearing it. I've been a fan of the sports, the post sports page for as long as I can remember. It was a staple in my house. It was growing up. Um, every Sunday, the paper was there, sports section. You read it, find out what's going on with the team. That it was part of my my daily routine. Um, whether it was even grabbing the paper in the morning or checking it online later in the day. Those writers, they didn't just cover games. They told the story of the city uh, through sports. Kornheiser, Wilbon, Buck Clark, those voices mattered. They held teams accountable. They gave fans context, and honestly, they helped a lot of us fall in love with the sports with the sport in the first place. Um, when you lose that, you lose more than just coverage. You lose connection. Uh, Local sports isn't just scores and headlines. It's culture. It's history. It's identity. It's everything. So yeah, this one hit hard for me. It feels just like another piece of Washington sports culture is just disappearing. With the sports desk dissolved as part of sweeping layoffs, so they say. I think it's a little bit more than that, but it's like, come on, man. Like, really, this means there's no beat reporters actively covering our teams. No thoughtful features that connect sports to our community. It's not just about about the Redskins either. Obviously, Caps and Nationals and so on. And it's really upsetting. I didn't even I wasn't expecting it. It kind of hit me out of nowhere. Like I wasn't even aware this was coming, and I just found out the other day. I'm like, what? Why? Like how? So yeah, I just definitely had a loss of words and definitely not a fan of it.
Right. I mean, what can you say? What I will say is I hope that the Washington Times and the Washington Examiner sees this as an opportunity to understand what it is that the Washington Post gave up and recognize that it shouldn't be given up. So
Yep.
I do hope those other papers will take on that challenge. And trust me, I'll be reading, right?
Yep.
But Kevin, we're going to get to a bit of some happier news here for our last segment as the Commanders finally, after 9 interviews, have their defensive coordinator, and that man is Darante Jones, the former Vikings defensive pass game coordinator. They also subsequently, about 5 or 6 days later, hired their new D line coordinator, that is Eric Henderson. That is he is former D line coach of the Rams, and Aaron Donald spoke very highly
Mhm.
of him. Sharif Floyd is moving on elsewhere. He has been let go, and Daryl Tapp has been moved to assistant D line coach. So,
Okay.
Kevin. Yeah, lots of big moves. We got press conferences coming up next week after the Super Bowl. What were your thoughts on this initial hire that of these two, the D coordinator and then the D line.
Yeah. Right off the bat, when we hired him, when we hired Jones, I just was kind of like, yeah. Um, but after I looked some things up and it sat with me for a little bit, and I actually really like the hire. I like it more and more, and the more I sit with it, the more I'm finding out. I get why people expect it. A seasoned veteran defensive coordinator. I thought myself kind of that's what it would be. After we went, going with the first time offensive coordinator in Blau, that made sense on paper. But what this tells me is Washington, they were just not checking boxes. They were looking for the right fit. And as Dr. Wonderful, you just mentioned, they went through not three, not five, but 9 interviews. Jones he's young, he's modern, and he's coming from systems that emphasize speed, communication, and flexibility on the defense. I think that the Vikings background, it really matters. I went back personally and watched some film on the Vikings D. They have been big on disguising coverages, mixing looks pre-snap, and letting athletes play fast instead of thinking too much. That's something that this defense desperately needs. Uh, I get it. He's a first-time NFL defensive coordinator, but he's not inexperienced. He's been in NFL rooms. He's coached defensive backs. Again, as you stated, Dr. Wonderful, he had coordinated at major program in USC. And by all accounts, he definitely seems to be a strong teacher and communicator. Sometimes that will matter more than having, 15, 20 years of coordinator experience. I'll also say I think pairing a younger defensive coordinator with a younger roster makes a lot of sense. It feels like a defense that's going to aim to be aggressive, adaptable, and built kind of for today's NFL, not just stuck in the past. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't optimistic. I am. I like to hire. I think it's a bit of a gamble, sure, but I also believe it's a calculated one. And for once, it feels like we're swinging forward instead of playing it safe. And that's kind of what they've known to do. Play it safe, and I'm really excited to see where this defense can go under his leadership. As far as the hire there for defensive line coach was a Henderson. Um, I know that he played defensive end at Georgia Tech, where he was a three-time All Atlantic Coast Conference selection. And I know he went to the NFL. He was an undrafted free agent. Don't quote me on this. I want to say it was. I think it was I have to go back and check. I want to say it was the Bengals or Browns. I think it was the Bengals. Very smart when it comes to the game. Um, I know early on in his coaching career, he was a defensive line coach at the University of Texas. And his first NFL stint in NFL coaching was with the Los Angeles Chargers. Was an assistant defensive line coach there. And then he was there from 2017, 2018, 2019, 2023. He went with the Rams, where he was defensive line coach and run game coordinator. Bounced around a little bit. And then he went to last year, like you said, the 2024, 2025 season with the USC. And again, he's back now in the NFL as our defensive line coach and also defensive run game coordinator. And so I'm excited to see what happens. I'm excited for this defense to get a whole lot better. And so far, I'm liking all the promotions and new hires we got coming in.
Yeah, I think it's an exciting time. I mean, when it comes to Darante Jones, I mean, many people mention his work with Brian Flores, and certainly he's going to be aggressive, but he's worked with some defensive minds. But he's worked with Brian Flores and top defensive minds. He worked with Mike Zimmer, Vance Joseph,
Yeah,
Marvin Lewis. Like those are some of the top defensive minds to just come across the NFL in the last generation. So
I didn't
like
know
in the last 20
he worked
years.
with Marvin Lewis. That's pretty cool.
Yes.
Yep,
So he's worked with, so it's not just he'd be bringing this, all these minds are going to
yep,
be impacting, right? Very
yep.
much how he approaches the game. So I think that's going to be certainly fun. In my opinion, and I said this to you privately when this hire was made. I mentioned to you, this is Sinatra-esque. No
Mm-hmm.
one is going to say Dan Quinn did not make these hires. He is going to do this his way, and he's going to go out his way. If he's going to go out, he's going to go out his way. You're right, because he didn't play it safe, right? you got two people, we have no idea what they're going to do, and we know that they're going to mess up sometimes.
Right, right, right.
And Dan Quinn is willing to say, I am willing to roll with the fact that we're going to mess up sometimes,
Yeah,
and they're going to have some baffling calls and some head scratching, and I'm going to be the one that's just going to have to explain that. I mean, I have a lot of respect for him doing what he's doing, and I said it to you when this happened, and I will say it at the end of the season. No matter how the season goes, I really respect Dan Quinn for doing this right here and saying I'm gonna go out my way. It's I respect him for doing it. It takes some courage and
yeah,
some stones.
yep.
I respect it.
And I can guarantee that the defense will be better with Eric Henderson there too. I know his Quinn defenses they got built. He's built on a 4-man front that wins with the front four, not constant blitzing. And if you look at Henderson's background, the Rams plus USC is perfectly aligned with that philosophy, which is heavy emphasis on the gap discipline and penetration without losing run fits. So I really do. I think the defense line is going to be better, and I'm kind of getting excited now. At first, I wasn't like that. I was kind of just like, I wasn't really too impressed. But the more I'm looking into it, and these coaches, yeah, I'm getting on board.
Yeah, I'm with you. Thanks as always for your analysis, Kevin. We'll be back February 22nd to recap the press conferences of the new OC, David Blau, the new DC, Darante Jones, and of course Henderson as well. And I'm sure DQ is going to speak. Kevin and I will also start talking about free agency and how we think the Commanders will approach free agency and who we think they might approach in free agency. For Kevin Bayne, I'm Dr. Wonderful, Doctor of Writing, Professor of English, and avid Commanders fan. And this has been your newest edition of Commanders Wrap, where you get all your relevant Commanders news and a little opinion too in 15 minutes.